And our next senator is Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. She is the senior senator from Minnesota, and she sits on the Senate Help Committee and is a ranking member of the Joint Economic Committee. Senator Klobuchar has been a leader in helping ensure Americans' competitiveness through investments in science and STEM education. As a mom, thank you. She has most recently introduced with Senator Hatch the OPEN Act, which builds on the success of the Orphan Drug Act by expanding incentives to repurpose previously available drugs for the treatment of rare diseases. Innovation just as critical as the development of entirely new molecules and compounds. Senator Klobuchar.
Well, thank you, Julianne, for that kind introduction. Thank you, everyone. It's so great to be here with the House caucus leaders, Joe Crowley, Leonard Lance. Thank you so much. Senator Hatch, you might not think we have done a lot of bills together, given, we're from different parts of the country, little different backgrounds, right? Little different heights. But in fact, I finally figured out what Senator Hatch and why we were drawn to work together. And this is a true story. The Washingtonian magazine voted us the two senators least likely to get into a scandal. That's a true story. And thank you. It's a high bar around here. Obviously, we assume that includes with each other. But in any case, we are now together leading this important Senate Congressional caucus. And I think, as been mentioned by my colleagues here, we have come together on a bipartisan basis, and I think you know that this isn't something that you could just do with one party or the other party, that you need us working together. And I think what brings people together on an issue like this is our constituents. It's the people. It's the parents that come to your office with the children who just want that extra bolt of research that's going to make a difference for their child. I really came home to me when we had that government shutdown, something I will never forget. And while we were real focused on national parks and the businesses, as you can imagine, I actually went home and met with a bunch of parents of kids who are waiting some kind of hope with a rare disease, some kind of research that would make a difference. And out of that, I actually became the only senator in the Senate to donate my entire salary during the shutdown to the NIH, okay? Because I wanted to make the point that research day by day is what those parents and those patients are holding on to. That being said, we actually have had, as you've heard, some bright lights. Last year's budget, we actually increased the funding for NIH, which was really important. We have a number of bills that are working their way through Congress. One has passed the House, the America Cures Act, and is now in a different name, being considered before the Senate Help Committee. And we're very hopeful with the House bill being what it is, with Senator Lamar Alexander and Patty Murray, who work really well together, considering the bills that are there, including some potential speed ups on some of the approvals. We call it PDUFA. You don't even want to go there. For the approvals through the FDA of pharmaceuticals and medical devices, and some work that can be done on clinical trials, and we're hoping we can make some even bigger improvements there. But when it comes to rare diseases, I think that just takes a special effort. And I'm so proud to work with Senator Hatch, as he was involved in the original work with orphan drugs and with orphan diseases, which was way back in 1983, a little bit before I was in Congress. But for me now, I'm here now, and I look at what we've done. The FDA has approved nearly 500 new drugs that treat rare diseases in the past 5 years. 1 in 3 new drugs approved by the FDA were for rare diseases, and new technologies for personalized medicine hold great promise for finding treatments and cures. We know a little bit about that in Minnesota. A place where, in the words of Garrison Keillor, right, our poet laureate, we're a place where the women are strong, the men are good looking, and all the doctors are above average. In fact, we are the home of the Mayo Clinic and the University of Minnesota. And the Mayo Clinic, I recently visited the biobank, which is one of the leaders for personalized medicine. One example I'll use of how this personalized medicine is going to make some great strides in helping people, especially with particular disorders. A breakthrough drug which had been developed to treat cystic fibrosis, right? A disease that affects the lungs. If we were only looking at the success of the treatment on an average patient, this drug would have fallen by the wayside because it is only effective for 1 out of 10 cystic fibrosis mutations. But through genetic targeting, through looking at things through personalized medicine, this treatment can help some of those patients, some of them with particular mutations, lead normal lives. That is the kind of granular detail we're going to need if we can help people with rare diseases. So that is why we're in our next step now, and we've introduced the Open Act, which would build on the success of the Orphan Drug Act by providing incentives to increase market potential for companies that repurpose previously approved drugs for the treatment of rare diseases. Repurposing drugs is faster, less expensive, and presents fewer risks than traditional drug development. As I mentioned before, there are about 6,500 known rare diseases and fewer than 500 drugs approved to treat any of them. This means that the only option for many people with rare diseases is to use drugs off-label in search of relief. So the aim of our legislation is to increase the number of safe, effective, and affordable treatments that are available for people with rare diseases. So I'll end with this. I had my state breakfast every Thursday morning. We invite the entire state of Minnesota over for breakfast in our office. We serve food from our state. You're welcome to stop by as friends of our state. If you're lucky, you'll come the day that we serve Spam Puffs. Minnesota is actually the home of Spam, yes. In Austin, Minnesota, we actually have a museum devoted to Spam, or as we call it, the Guggenham. But in any case, if you come in our office on one of these mornings, you'll see a picture on the wall, and it's a picture of an angel, and she has the globe, the world in her hand, and she's handing it over to some outstretched hands. And the words on the picture read, the angel shrugged, and she placed the world in the palm of her hands. And she said, if you fail this time, it will be a failure of imagination. So sometimes I think the doctors out there, they've got a lot of imagination, right? They're trying to develop those cures. And our job in Washington is to get them that funding to do it, to make sure the rules and regulations work so we can help those patients. Those parents have imagination, right? Or the patients themselves have imagination. They're coming just with whatever they've got. They're trying to survive, trying to add that extra year to their lives. So we just need a little imagination around this place. So I ask you, as you talk to members, as you work on these issues, to never give up, to believe you can be persistent and get change, because sometimes it's just one person, by talking to one member of Congress or one staff member, where a light goes on in their head and they say, you know, this is something I can do, I can get this done. But you don't get there until you try, and that's what you're doing today. So thank you for having us. Thank you.